Not mullets, but the old Kentucky waterfall.
You know, it's a practical hairstyle. I don't see what the big fuss is. Welcome to Scrollin, episode 84. I'm Ket. Joining me, as always, Davey Starjumper. How's it going, dude?
It's going good.
Home improvement projects all caught up, or you still have some going?
I actually was playing ESO.
Wow. Davey Starjumper, ladies and gentlemen.
2 days in a row I was on. Huh? Back to back.
Pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah. Great to have you back, dude. We've been having a blast doing some BGs, actually. It's been pretty fun getting into this new meta and stuff. So let's get into that. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the current PvP environment in this update 35 situation that we're in here. So it's been live for about a week now on PC. Consoles still have to wait another week, but we've had a pretty good chance to get in there and do a bunch of BGs and just kind of get a sense of how the meta is shaping up. Things are still in flux. Things are still kind of flushing themselves out. So this is just kind of like a week's worth of observations. So we'll see how it all evolves. But the main thing that I want to talk about first is how kind of the consensus among the PvP community seems to be, you know, this patch ain't so bad.
It's not too bad.
For as much dread and everything that was happening during the PTS and everything. And, you know, this is one of the most negative receptions I've seen ever during a public test cycle. And for all that negativity, now a lot of that stuff was walked back. Some of that stuff that we were dreading, they actually reverted and said, okay, never mind, we're not doing those things. So that's part of why it's not so bad. But even the things that went through, I think we're finding actually things are pretty all right now.
I really think that kind of hits the nail on the head with it. I think there was so much change through that PTS that it was just kind of like when it actually came live, it was like, all right, this is bearable. This is actually not bad. But there was just so much overhaul and so much change. And then like even things taken back, you know, like, yes, they did take some things back, but it's still just kind of gearing up and preparing for the change and then looking at things. It was kind of like, all right, what are we in store for here?
Yeah, it kind of, for the people who were following along the whole time during PTS and everything, it kind of was difficult to get a clear sense of what is this meta even really going to be looking like. I think one prediction that a lot of people made that has definitely come true is that this is a very tanky meta. And that's probably the one, like, big complaint. Like, you know, not everything's perfect right now. There are a lot of good things about this current patch, but it is way, way, way too tanky.
Definitely too tanky.
And that seems to be pretty much everyone across the board is kind of in agreement there. But the kind of silver lining to that is the way that it is tanky. Like, all the things that are making it such a tanky meta are things that everyone benefits from, right? It's not one specific class or one kind of build or anything like that. Like, it applies to everyone. So I get to enjoy it as much as everybody else. It's not my favorite type of meta, but at least I get to enjoy that aspect of it without having to change my build and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's definitely extremely tanky, and it is too tanky, but it does create some pretty fun, just straight up brawls. That is true.
They're pretty you get some real dog piles.
Yes.
And you really can enjoy, like, you can jump into that big meat blender, you know, there's like a dog pile of 10 players all just kind of smashing into each other, and you can kind of jump in there and not worry about just melting right away. You can kind of hang in there and do a little something. Davis, I know typically you don't mind tankier metas compared to me, or as much anyway.
Yeah, I really do enjoy tankier metas, but this one it's like just over the line for me. It's a little bit too tanky in the sense that there's not a lot of kills. And I think I think a part of that is that, you know, we're seeing damage is down for everybody across the board, but healing doesn't seem to be down at all. Like, healing numbers seem just the exact same. And so I think that there's some really tanky players. There's some things out there that are making things really tanky, but the heals, man. Even if you get a health bar down, or if you even get somebody in to execute, man, that health bar is going to pop right back up.
Yeah, and it seemed like we were getting some cross-healing nerfs this patch, and I guess technically we have, because all the sticky hots are a lot weaker. But I think that's largely overshadowed by the fact that we're so deep into this hybrid meta now that basically everyone's a healer. Like stamina, magicka, everyone has really strong heals. So like, even if you're on a team that doesn't actually have a healer, most likely all three of your teammates have a heal that they can hit you with if they need to. So everyone just kind of has everyone's back, which is kind of nice, but that in conjunction with a lot of other factors, it's a bit much. So some factors that are contributing to this tanky meta, to this high survivability meta, there's quite a lot of them. Dots are a lot weaker. Light attacks are weaker. A lot of heavy-hitting class abilities like Jab, Sub-Assault, Molten Whip, Crystal Weapon, Bound Armaments. Those have all been nerfed. Oaken Soul was nerfed. Plague Break was nerfed. Savage Werewolf was nerfed. Dark Convergence was nerfed. So just a lot of stuff that you kind of have to deal with quite a bit in Battlegrounds is a lot weaker or just non-existent now. Most people have Minor Resolve now because that was added to Vigor, so anyone using that is just a little bit tankier for that reason. So it's just a lot of stuff. On top of that, Wardens have become incredibly popular.
They're back, man.
They're back. They're very much back. I think we missed this prediction, or at least I did on the last episode. I was saying Nightblades were going to kind of have the number one spot as far as popularity goes, but that seems to be going to Wardens, actually.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely. I can't tell if it's because they've been just completely absent for so long, and now you're just seeing them, or if it's just the fact that they really are the most popular. But they are definitely back.
I think they are definitely the most popular class choice right now. I'm wondering as the patch goes on if that's going to continue to be the case, though, because the thing that Wardens are really, really good at is basically staying alive, like not dying, and keeping their teammates alive and making them stronger. I'm really not seeing a ton of Wardens just raking in the kills. You know, as many Wardens as I'm seeing, as many really good Wardens as I'm seeing, I'm not seeing astronomical kill counts really from any Wardens. And I think right now people are just kind of excited that Wardens have been buffed and they're more competitive, and they're just kind of dusting them off to play with their Wardens because they haven't in a while. But I think as time goes on, people are going to be like, all right, I need something that can get some kills. Where's my Sorcerer? Where's my Nightblade? I think that's going to evolve a little bit. But that's contributing quite a bit to the tanky meta as well, because Wardens, they heal their allies. They give everyone 10% extra health. They help everyone keep their armor buff active. So just their presence alone, there's a very high chance you're going to have a Warden on your team in Battlegrounds. So they're making you tankier on top of everything else that's making you tankier. That's a big part of it as well.
They've got a tanky kit for sure.
Extremely.
I'm going to be talking about my Warden later on, but I'm testing some things out, going back and forth. But the what's the other morph of Shimmering Shield? I can't remember the other one.
Crystallized Slab, is that what it's called?
Yeah, so I was actually testing Crystallized Slab, and on my Warden, it has a 40k damage shield. 40,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I was testing with that, and just seeing that, oh my gosh! I mean, there's some seriously, and that's just one of their, that's just one thing they have, but they've definitely got some serious tanky.
An extremely good defensive kit. Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely a good time to be playing Wardens. But I do think that their popularity is going to decline a bit over time, just because they don't seem to have that killing power that other classes have, even now. Now, I was saying that Nightblades, they're not the number one spot in terms of popularity, but I am seeing a fair number of them out there. Probably fewer than I was last patch. Like, there were a ton last patch, but a lot of those builds were crutching pretty hard on Oaken Soul. And I think, even though Nightblades have gotten some really nice buffs this patch, I don't think all those buffs added up, make up for the Oaken Soul nerf. So I think a lot of those people are kind of bouncing over to Wardens right now. But I do think that Nightblades are well represented in Battlegrounds. I see a few of them in every match almost. Hybridization has been really good for them in Battlegrounds. There was a time, we've said it lots of times in the past on this show, don't bring a Nightblade to Battlegrounds. If we're playing in a group, like we don't want to. That's like the least desirable spec to have. But hybridization has helped them quite a bit. Like, I can heal my team now.
Absolutely.
And Nightblades seem to be pretty balanced at the moment. Like, mine does really good damage. He gets really, really good kills. He's probably my best build right now, honestly.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't feel like it's overpowered. I'm not, like, just, like, running away with it or anything like that. As far as Battlegrounds specifically goes, I think this is probably the best spot Nightblades have ever been in.
I think that just like what you said there is their ability now to heal and throw heals out to the team, combined with, like they've always been with the stealth and things like that. They're very difficult to kill, and they usually don't have a lot of deaths. And so, low death count and then throwing out team heals, that actually works out to be a pretty great team member in a battleground.
Yeah, and they have the damage to kind of justify their presence as well and get those kills. Crimson says Nightblade can't go into Battlegrounds. Well, in the past, they were kind of the least desirable, especially StamBlades were the least desirable spec to have because they weren't really very good at ganking people with no CP, and they didn't really have any kind of group utility of any kind. So they're just like, literally anything else is a better choice for group synergy and all that stuff. Not really the case, though. I think they have a really good spot in groups now.
Yeah, for the longest time, it was if you had a Nightblade on your team, you were basically down a team member in fights. And you're right, that's not the case anymore. It has changed.
Yeah. So anyway, good for Nightblades. They're not the number one spot, but honestly, I think as this meta evolves over the next couple of months, I think we're going to see them pretty close to the top. Another big defining factor of this meta is this new set, Mara's Balm. It's one of the new rewards for the worthy sets. It's a heavy armor set. As a reminder, the 5-piece bonus is when a negative effect is removed from you, restore 2,111 health.
Period.
Period, yeah.
Important period in that set right there.
And then when you take damage and have 6 or more negative effects, cleanse all negative effects. And that can happen every 15 seconds. So the cleanse all negative effects thing, that happens every 15 seconds. But the restore 2011 health whenever a negative effect is removed, that has no cooldown. So when that, you take damage when you have 6 or more negative effects, and then all negative effects are cleansed. Well, when all of those effects are cleansed, each one of those effects procs that 2111 heal. So if you have 6, have 6 negative effects on you, they all automatically cleanse, and you get a 12,000 heal at that moment, plus cleanse everything at the same time. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty strong. That's a very strong thing, but that's not even what makes this set so strong, right? That has a 15-second cooldown. If that's all it was, you can just wait for that to happen, and you have 15 whole seconds to kill that person. That would be no big deal. But what makes this set so strong is that 2,000 heal, when a negative effect is removed, that procs way, way, way more often than you think it would. Because it's not just when an effect is cleansed, it says when it is removed. And what it considers to be removed is like almost anything. Even if a dot just naturally expires, that counts. That procs the set. If a status effect runs out, that counts. If an effect is reapplied, say someone applies Major Breach to you, and they apply Major Breach again, well, then the previous instance of Major Breach counts as being removed, and so that procs the set to heal you as well. So there's just a lot of instances where you end up proccing this thing when you wouldn't think it would.
Yeah, and it creates a lot of situations where you may, you're laying your combo into someone, and you think that you're working them down, and then you kind of go through your combo, and their health just builds back up. It's almost like as you're throwing things on them, you're just healing them rather than actually damaging them.
Oh yeah, I've seen troll builds, quite a few actually, that'll just wander out into the middle of a battle, and they're not even holding block. They're not attacking anyone. They're just standing there waiting for someone to attack them because they know they can't die. And guess what? They're right. They can't die.
Yeah, they're just healing right back up.
There's already been a dev comment on the forums. They're planning to nerf this, I think, next week. They said they're going to nerf the healing. So I don't know if they really are aware of what's making it so strong, which is the fact that thing has no cooldown and that so many different things can proc it. But I don't know. Maybe if they bring that heal down to around 600 or so, maybe that would be balanced. I feel like they would have to nerf that heal quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's not changing the removed part to cleansed, instead of saying when a negative effect is removed from you, a negative effect is cleansed from you.
Yeah.
that's what I expected the nerf to be, but, we'll see. We'll see how much they nerf that heal.
Yeah, that's what they said, but who knows when it actually happens, what'll actually end up being the case. But that's a big, big factor in what's making everything so tanky, and kind of that's the broken thing, right? Every Q3, we just expect now, Q3 DLC, we're getting some busted, broken PvP set, at least one.
There's going to be one out there.
This is the one right now. So that's kind of what's going on in the Battlegrounds meta right now. Before we move on, I want to tell a funny story relating to Battlegrounds. Shout out to Uncle Sam, me and Davius and Sam. We all grouped up a couple of nights ago and queued up for some BGs and group BGs. And we got into this one match, and as we were waiting for the match to start, we pulled up the scoreboard to see the list of names that are in there, like we always do. Every single player on the opposing teams were like S tier. Some of the best players we know in this game, like every single one, are just absolute monsters.
And we were talking about that before the match even started, about how miserable the match was going to be.
Yeah, we were just like, oh my gosh, guys, we just got into the all-star match. Like, this is going to be brutal. Just get ready. This is not going to be pleasant. So the match starts. I think it was a Crazy King. We run to the middle, and we just, all right, we're bracing for impact, we're going to do our best, and here we go. And nothing really happens. And we're like looking at the battlefield, and the other two teams are clashing, and they're going at it, and they're just completely ignoring us. And we even run in there and like try to get into the fight, and they're like not even really fighting back. They're just like,
they don't even care that we're there.
There were ants to these people.
Yes.
And I was just thinking, like, man, this is so much worse than getting stomped.
It was so disrespectful. I mean, they were just in a constant locked battle. And we were just chasing after the fight. I mean, running in the middle of it, hitting them, throwing combos.
We were trying.
They didn't even look at us. It was just, they just locked with each other. And it was just like, oh my goodness.
We were just so not a threat to them. No. They didn't even want to waste their resources when they could just focus on each other. It was pretty funny, but man, I kind of wish they just stomped us,
Yeah, it would have been better. The disrespect was a new level of disrespect.
Yeah, I was like, man, I got to think about that. I got to log off and think about this for a while, guys. That was pretty funny though, really.
I've never run up and I think I was playing my warden, just a brawly, and I've never running up on people, melee range, hitting them, and they never even turned around. They're back to us the whole time.
Well, and they were legit pre-mades. They were probably pretty well optimized. Whenever we group up, we basically are all just running a solo build in a group together, so I never really expect to do super well in those kinds of matches. I guess kind of props to those teams for kind of being polite, I guess.
Oh, man.
You can at least just kind of fight us a little bit next time. Make us feel like we're doing something. Anyway, I think the BG meta is looking pretty good. All classes are pretty well represented, other than Warden's kind of being a little more than everybody else. But aside from that, I see a little bit of everybody in there, even Templars. Templars are still alive and kicking, if you can imagine that.
That's the most surprising part to me.
Yeah, they're definitely out there. GrizzlyCon says, not with jabs, though. Yeah, the kind of prevailing... a lot of StamPlars are using Flurry, and Battlegrounds kind of the prevailing MagPlar setup is a ranged MagPlar, and they're really focusing on that beam. Visually, the new jabs, it kind of grows on you, I think, after a little while. Or not necessarily grows on you, you just kind of stop noticing. I do prefer the old one, though, for sure. But at this point, it's like my brain doesn't even register that anything different is happening. Well, let's talk about some builds, and I think this is probably going to be the bulk of the episode. We have a number of builds to talk about here. I'm actually feeling pretty good about quite a few of my builds. They've been performing pretty well. I've had to make a few adjustments. Number one build I want to talk about is Old Reliable, Old Betsy. My Stamina Templar.
She's still with us.
Yeah. She's still kicking. We were worried about her coming into this meta. Templar's getting a ton of nasty nerfs and all of that. And so I've been kind of dreading this, but I've been kind of saying to myself going into this meta, like, we're gonna tackle Betsy head on. We're gonna make sure she stays viable, stays competitive, and all that stuff. And Betsy, she continues to evolve and adapt and overcome adversity. And it's kind of a funny thing because I've been dreading these nerfs and everything. I've been thinking this is going to be such a bad patch for Betsy. And the nerfs are real. I can definitely tell that they're there. I definitely have lost damage. No question about that. But getting that damage loss has kind of caused me to search for ways to make the build better and to tweak the build and fit in with this meta a little better. And I think the end result is really that I have a better build than I had before even. We still have lost damage, but that's just something we have to accept. And basically everyone has lost damage this patch, you know. So in my experience so far in Battlegrounds, it kind of evens out. I feel like I'm doing less damage to everyone else, but they're all dealing a lot less damage to me as well. So that's just what the meta is right now. So I guess all of that dread and everything was just kind of for naught. I've been playing with Betsy more than any of my other characters since this patch has dropped, and I've been having a pretty good time. The build has been tweaked a little bit. The gear setup now is Deadly Strikes as a double bar set, Wretched Vitality as a back bar set with a bow, the Vatishran two-hander on the front bar. That's right, I did Vatishran Arena.
Oh, yeah.
Finally. Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm and One Piece Magma Incarnate. So really similar to the build that I had been using for a long time. Basically, the main thing that has changed is I used to use the Master Bow on the back bar, and I've kind of shifted everything around so that now I'm using the Vatishran two-hander on the front bar. All the other components are the same as they used to be. They've just kind of shifted around to accommodate that change. So I think that was a good change, trading the Master Bow out and replacing it with the Vatishran two-hander. Master Bow is nice, but the thing about it is you have to hit someone with poison injection, and then you get 330 weapon and spell damage against that target. Right? And if they dodge it, or if they cleanse it, or anything like that, you have to keep casting it on them and make sure it stays on them, or you're missing out on a lot of your damage. And if you want to, like, say you want to switch targets, start attacking someone different, you have to make sure they have poison injection first, you know, and you have to do it all over again. Whereas with the Vatishran two-hander, it's giving your character 300 weapon and spell damage straight to the stat sheet, and you don't have to worry about any of that. If you want to attack someone, you just attack them.
Yep.
And it applies to everybody. So I really like that. It's a similar amount of damage, but way easier to use. It simplifies my combo, my rotation, all of that. I also have the option to use that heavy attack to get that extra burst attack in my combo, which I don't really do very often. I usually just hang on to that 300 weapon spell damage, but I like having that option. Sometimes I do that. I still think Deadly Strikes is the best 5-piece set for a StamPlar. I tried a few others. I tried Dagon's Dominion. I tried Spriggan. I tried Briarheart. Deadly Strikes is still the most damage of any of those consistently. So I'm still sticking with Deadly. And probably the most significant change that I've made is I've started using the Living Dark ability. And I know any Templar listening is thinking, like, yeah, duh, dude. Why? Like, yeah, that's the one. That's the ability. You gotta use that.
Ability.
I've seen the light now. Let me tell you, my goodness, this ability is so good. And I'm using the nerfed version, right? It was nerfed a couple of patches ago. It was way stronger before that. I can't imagine what it must have been like then, because it's unreal now, man. Living Dark is that bubble that Templars put on themselves, and it basically makes them really difficult to kill. You get a 2,000 heal whenever you take direct damage once every 0.5 seconds, and it also snares people who are attacking you by 40%.
You could just say the bubble that's on all the Templars. That sums
the bubble that you see on all the Templars, yeah.
That's the one.
So that 2,000 heal from direct damage every 0.5 seconds. So basically, if somebody is light attack weaving a spammable on you, then both the light attack and the spammable are proccing that heal. And what's really nice is, you know, this thing makes me a lot tankier. It makes me able to absorb a lot more damage. But Betsy's defensive strategy has always been about mobility and movement and kiting and line of sight and all that stuff. This makes that easier too, because it's slowing everybody down by 40%. So even like my main defensive strategy, it's helping me with that. Plus, I can actually tank out more damage than I could before as well. So just in every way, it's making me so much more survivable. It's also a really effective deterrent. This is something that I was not really prepared for, but people just see me in that bubble and they just don't attack me. They just don't want to waste their resources. They know it's going to be difficult to kill a Templar in that bubble, and I'm on the other side of that all the time. I see a Templar in that bubble. If I see someone without that bubble as an option, as a target,
switching targets,
I'm going to go for them instead. Absolutely. So it's funny how it makes me tankier, but since I have it, I don't need to be tankier because people don't attack me nearly as much. And one side effect of this, I really do think this is the key ability that's making Betsy so successful right now. An unexpected side effect is that my damage and my kill counts have actually, they're either about the same, or I think they've actually gone up just a little bit on average so far. And I've definitely lost damage. I mean, no question, my DPS is less, for sure. But I think this Living Dark ability is allowing me to be so much more aggressive. I'm so much more survivable. I can be a lot more bold and take a lot more risks and kind of push harder for longer and keep applying that pressure. So there is just a lot more of the time I'm securing that kill before I have to break away and disengage and recover my health and all that kind of stuff.
You're a brawler now. Old Betsy Brawler.
It really has turned Betsy into more of a brawler, even though she's still, I mean, medium armor, well-fitted, orc, 3 swift. She has a bow. She's very kitey. She's still just as, quick on her feet as she's always been. But yeah, she kind of also is kind of like a brawler right now, which I think that's kind of the problem with this meta, is everybody is a brawler regardless of what else is going on in the build,
Yeah.
So, anyway, if you're interested, if you want to see Betsy with this setup in action, I did put up a 5-minute clip on YouTube a couple of days ago. It's just a 5-minute, there's a song playing. It's just showing Betsy having a good time in BGs. If you just want to see it in action, you can. Just search for Kit Sparrowhawk. And in the description of that video, there's a link for the written version of the build, if you want to see all those details. Really quick, this won't take long, but just while we're on the topic of Templars, I want to talk about Butch Mahoney, my Magicka Templar, who has just been collecting dust for months and months, probably 6 months at this point.
It's been a while.
Ever since hybridization, I just play with Betsy. Betsy can do everything Butch can do.
The hybrid. Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
So that's kind of what is happening to all my Magicka builds, really. But quick shout out to Uncle Sam for helping me come up with this idea. Is that Sam's third shout out for the episode?
Where's the tally? Who's keeping tallies?
But we're actually seeing quite a few of these kinds of builds pop up. So we're not the first ones to come up with this build idea by any means. This seems to be the Templar build. For the Templars that you do see out there, this is kind of the most popular type of setup. So the idea is I'm going to take this character back to being a ranged build, which was his original setup. He used to be a ranged Templar. So I'm going to use the Crushing Shock ability for my spammable, the Javelin for a stun. It's an unblockable stun. I'll have Purifying Light. I'll have the Radiant Oppression Jesus Beam Execute ability, which is majorly buffed. That's the one big buff Templar's got, was that ability.
And that's a whole lot of damage.
That's a lot. And then I'll have the Meteor Ultimate. And basically the whole idea is just to ramp up that Jesus Beam Execute. So I think I'm going to use the Deadly Strikes set, because that'll apply to the beam. And I'm going to do 3 Bloodthirsty on the jewelry, and that'll all apply to that beam, ramp up that execute damage as well. So I think that's going to be really strong. The combo is just going to be put Purifying Light on them, toss a Meteor at them, throw the unblockable Javelin to stun them, so they have to eat that Meteor, and then burn them down with the beam. I think that's going to work pretty well. That beam is unreal. I just put a quick build together in the build editor, and with that, the beam has a 16k tooltip over 1.8 seconds. So if that gets the full 500% execute multiplier, that's 80,000 damage.
Oh my gosh.
Over 1.8 seconds. That's not counting the Bloodthirsty jewelry, ramping that up with another 1,000 weapon and spell damage behind it as well. So that thing's going to be just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's going to be the finisher.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this. I actually have not put this build together yet. It's just in the idea stage right now, but I'm excited about this. I've been needing a way to differentiate this character from my StamPlar, because for the longest time they've kind of just been identical, and so that just means I just play with my StamPlar all the time. This dude going to being a ranged build, I think there'll be more times where I'm like, I'm feeling like I want to play ranged today, and I'll pick this character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, Davius, why don't you take the mic for a little while? You've been playing with Bear Claw, your StamDen.
Bear Claw the Nord, StamDen. He's a warden. Let's just put it that
way. He's a warden anyway.
He's a warden. We don't really know what he is anymore.
It's all blurry these days. I'm actually curious because we talked about this build a couple of days ago, but I think you've been kind of all over the place the last couple of days.
All over the place. This is the build that right now I am full in the depths of the theory crafting. Like, I am full in the depths of...
We're in the weeds here.
Oh, yeah. Every day he's changing a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually, I was telling you, I just did a Battleground with Sam just a couple hours ago and had a different build, trying out different builds. So definitely in the weeds with the theory crafting. His kind of locked in build that is kind of the go-to right now is more of a warden pet build, if you will. It's a 5-piece defiler, which we'll come back to that one in a second. But
that's annoying as crap.
Yeah, 5-piece defiler, 3-piece agility, the Maw of the Infernal Monster set, 1-piece trainee, and 1-piece Oaken Soul.
Okay.
And then obviously, so kind of what I say, the reason I say Pet Warden is that he does do the bear ult. That defiler summons the, I don't know what that thing is called. Is
it the one with the hunger? Is that what it is?
Yes, the hunger. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it summons that hunger that spews poison, and it can stun you, and it's AoE damage. The Maw of the Infernal Monster set summons the Daedrith. And so he kind of throws all this stuff out there. And it is a fun build in the sense that it really just creates a kind of havoc for the Battleground. It's it
really does. I've been on the receiving end. We were queuing up for some solos last night, and we ended up on opposing teams a couple of times. And man, it is a mess to deal with the bear and everything else. It's a wacky time
all over the place. And so I do like that part of it. I think that I really like that setup. And it's the reason I say Stamina Warden or Magicka Warden. I don't really know what he is. I'm actually using the Magicka version of the Cliff Racer for that 400 weapon and spell damage.
Very nice.
And so it kind of ramps up the damage. But everything else on the build is stamina with that setup, in the sense that I use, it's Oaken Soul, so it's only 1 bar. But Warden is built for Oaken Soul. They really only need 1 bar and they're set. But I use the new Deceptive Predator wings, minor evasion, and that's working great. With the new buff to wings, where it actually
it gives you that snare removal.
Snare removal. Thank you. Yeah. That was what I was looking for. That is great. That ability is fantastic now. And so that's working out well. I have Vigor on there, Sub Assault, and then I use the Mushroom Heal. And the build's very tanky, throws a whole mess on the Battleground. I mean, there's just stuff running around everywhere. And it does decent damage. Kind of like what you said earlier, it's not a kill count build. It's not going to get a whole lot of kills, but it is kind of a good brawler build that will do decent damage, throw a mess on the Battleground with all the stuff out there. And it's a good team, kind of a team player build. When I first started out the build, I was actually using dual wield.
Just ain't right. Bear Claw without a bow, it just ain't right.
It just wasn't right. And so I was trying that out with the Cliff Racer, and man, that Cliff Racer, it just doesn't work with, in my opinion, it's just not right unless you have a ranged attack with it, a bow to go with it. It just was weird. It felt weird, and my light attack weaving just seemed off. And so I was trying a couple, I tried them out one night and was doing that dual wield, and it just didn't feel right. And then I did that exact same build, but just switched to a bow, and it felt so much better. My damage actually went up, and my light attack weaving was fixed, which is, with a bow, it lowered my overall weapon damage, but it just felt so much better, and the whole build just kind of went a lot smoother. And so that's kind of that's the go-to build right now. But like I said, I am fully in the depths of theory crafting And with all of this Warden buffs, Magica Wardens specifically got a whole bunch of buffs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really looking at potentially switching Bear Claw to a Magica Warden, or at least seeing what that looks like. I'm already using the Cliff Racer, the Magica Morph of the Cliff Racer. And so for that weapon and spell damage. The Magica version of the Sub Assault, while it is that second attack is delayed by additional 3 seconds, it is a much larger tooltip. First of all, the very first attack, both of them are 3 seconds. The very first one is a larger tooltip, and then the second one, while it is has that 6 second delay, it's almost a double the damage tooltip. And so there's more damage with that. And then I already use the magic damage version of the bear.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've kind of looked at is all of my attacks are magic damage. The Cliff Racer, the Magica version of Sub Assault, which I think is what's it called? I can't remember what it's called, but it's on the tip of my tongue. I was just looking at it.
Deep Fissure.
Thank you.
It took me a second.
Deep Fissure, and then the bear. So all three of that's all my damage that I do on the build, and it's all magic damage. And so I've been playing around with this build idea of what would happen if I switched all those, did all full on Magica Morphs and put War Maiden on there, which is the 5 pieces 600 damage buff to magic damage. Mm-hmm. And it makes the tooltips through the roof. I mean, they are crazy high. And I've been kind of in the build editor testing it out, and I've even tested it out in the regular game. And it is crazy high damage. He hits so much harder, and I like how much he's hitting. He's just laying in the damage, but I've really struggled to figure out what to put with the War Maiden. So it's Oaken Soul, War Maiden, and then I've tried a whole bunch of stuff. I've tried
Wretched Vitality.
What was that? No, what's that say you said, Ken? What are you talking about?
Wretched Vitality.
I do think Wretched Vitality is a possibility, because here's the thing, and this is really gonna make you hit the Wretched Vitality siren. The problem when I switch to this is sustain. The sustain is miserable trying to set him up as a Magica Warden with the Oaken Soul 1-bar build. I've tried all these different sets. I mean, I went deep into my sets. I put Briarheart on there. I put 7th Legion on there because I do have Vigor on there. And so I thought, the new Vigor gives the minor resolve, so that should kick it on, which, by the way, the new Vigor does not proc 7th Legion. It should, but it does not. I spent like 30 minutes trying to test that out. Took Oaken Soul off because I thought maybe that was it because it's already given you buffs. Nope. I could not get the new Vigor to proc 7th Legion.
7th Legion procs from something that increases your armor, right?
Yes.
When you increase your armor. I wonder if you have to be in combat. Did you test that?
Yep. I tried being in combat, and I went into combat and tried it that way. I think it's not working as intended, because from everything I could see, the new Vigor should proc 7th Legion. So yeah, I think I probably will, when it's all said and done, I think I will probably end up with the War Maiden setup. I just don't know what that fully looks like yet. I know your answer.
I know. Well, I basically just run the same build on all my characters, so I don't really have to think about it too much.
So let's get into the nitty gritty here a little bit. Let's talk War Maiden with the back bar. So if I was to go that route, I think I'd do 5-piece War Maiden, back bar, Wretched Vitality, probably Gaze of Sithis. But the problem is that I was thinking, and you know Wretched Vitality pretty well, is that if I go with this setup, it's pretty much almost entirely a magic build at that point.
Well, here's the thing. So, Wretched Vitality is an excellent set for magic builds, too.
That's what I was about to ask you, is that Wretched Vitality always strikes me as this hybrid build. But if it's just a magic build, is Wretched Vitality still worth it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there might be something else that's more ideal, but I use it on a couple of Magica characters because, we talked about that set on the show before, it's 2 sets. Even if you only look at just the Magicka recovery that it's giving you, that's a whole entire set. It's a full recovery set on its own. And then plus having all that stamina recovery is good for any build. It's going to allow you to be still be like very athletic and all that kind of stuff, and still feel like a stamina build.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The reason I would say I will end up probably with this Ward Maiden setup is that I was testing it today. The sustain was awful. I did a couple Battlegrounds, and it just, I was drained on Magicka. Just couldn't cast anything. But when I had that first kind of couple of times to go through the combo, the damage was insane. It was getting up to about 6,000 weapon damage, and that's not including that 600 that the Ward Maiden is putting on the tooltips.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a whole lot of damage, and it was hitting hard, I could tell. But I was just almost every fight, and especially with the meta the way it is now, so tanky, sustain is in my opinion a little bit more important than it's been, because you have to sustain these long brawly fights.
Yeah.
And as soon as you run out of resources, you're not going to get someone down with the meta
fights
that's right now.
Fights last a while. Yeah, you're right about that.
And so I do, if I do go that route, I'm gonna have to figure out something with sustain. It may be Wretched Vitality. This may be the one that finally does it. And I think it has plenty of damage that it doesn't really, I think it has opportunity to put a sustain set on there. It's got a lot of damage, and the tooltips are
and you could double bar War Maiden and do like a Black Rose Prison bow on the front bar, and that would be some extra sauce there as well.
Yeah.
That'd work pretty well.
There's definitely opportunity there. And here's the thing is going from the stamina warden, his like I said, I use it's the wings, and then the stamina mushroom heal, sub assault, vigor. The other appealing part to switching to kind of more Magicka based is, while vigor is great and the mushroom heal is also fantastic, I'm switching to Arctic Blast, which is one of the best abilities out there right now.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's unbelievable. And then I can also swap out that Vigor for the Shimmering Shield, or the one I already forgot the name of. You already reminded me once. But Crystallized Slab.
Yeah.
And swapping out the Vigor for that, and then the Mushroom Heal for the Arctic Blast, it's just more appealing. It's just it's a lot more effective. Those are two much more effective abilities that make me a lot tankier. It's a lot more CC, and they're just better abilities in a BG. And so those are also kind of pushing me towards this potential War Maiden build, is that the bar just looks better. It's just better abilities. That's kind of what I'm testing right now. I at least got some Battleground testing in to see how much damage it laid into it. It was taking some chunks of health, but every single time I just kept running out of Magicka. And so that's, if I'm gonna go with that setup, I've got to figure out some sort of sustain effort.
Wretched will solve that for you.
Wretched solves all your problems.
I mean, it really will. And then it's not even like you're really losing damage, because chances are you're using a Recovery Mundus, and you can change that, and
that is a really good point, because I am using the Magicka Recovery Mundus. But like I said, fully in the weeds right now with the theory crafting in this build. But even going back to the base build right now, where it's that Pet Warden, it still feels really good in Battlegrounds, and it's performing really well. So kind of what we were saying about Wardens, he's feeling really good right now, regardless of the build I'm throwing on there, and I'm having a lot of fun with him.
That's the Bear Claw I know, with just like a bunch of chaos happening.
That is
his
go-to, is the throwing all the. So here's, I'll go a little deeper in this. And this is going to be exciting for you. I was going to save this surprise for later, but I'll say it. I'll throw it out there now. You're going to be a fan of this surprise.
Oh boy.
So the idea is that if I drop Defiler off of this build, Defiler is poison damage. And so I've been looking for potentially different poison sets for my BowCro. So the potential is that if I take it off Bear Claw, I could throw it on my BowCro with the Swamp Raider, And here's the part that you're going to be excited about. The new BowCro name change.
What?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if everybody will get this. I know you will for a fact. But my BowCro's new name, it's Nord or Nothing.
It's Nord or Nothing.
It's Nord or Nothing.
Is the word "it's" part of it?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's Nord or Nothing.
Dude, that's great. It's like Nerf. It's Nerf or Nothing.
Huge homage to Nerf or It's Nerf or Nothing. But it's Nord or Nothing, and it's
that's
the BowCro
great.
build. So I feel pretty good about it. His name was Chief of Grief, which is also great.
That was a good name.
It's a good Chief of Grief's good, but it's not Nord themed. So now we're going full Nord theme.
It's Nord or nothing.
Nothing.
You just thought of that while you were at work one day, right? And you're just like, I gotta change that.
That's what I do all day
home.
at work, actually, is just think of Nord
names.
Like, what? All my notes in my office are just Nord names and what rhymes with Nord and all of the Nord cities. It's just pretty much what I do. That's what I get paid to do all day.
You just keep getting promotions somehow.
I just keep moving up. So there's some, I don't have the full build. I won't go full into that build, but ideally Swamp Raider Defiler, it's Nord or Nothing, BowCro build. Feel pretty good about that one. I think that's potentially going to be a lot of fun.
Well, it's funny you mentioned BowCros because that's exactly who I was going to talk about next is my BowCro. Bobby Bobango.
Bobby Bobango. I dare somebody to hear you say that name, and you just can't help it. You will repeat that name. You say Bobby Bobango, I say Bobby Bobango.
Bobby Bobango.
Bobby Bobango.
It's got a rhythm to it. Son of Robert Bobango.
Son of Robert. He does not prefer. He doesn't go by Robert. That's he's Bobby, but Robert is a very important man.
When he gets a little older, we might call him Bob Bobango. I don't know. He's my BowCro. And, I don't talk about this dude a lot, but he really is, for as long as this character has existed, he's just kind of quietly, patch after patch, just been solid. He's really never been bad. And he's in a pretty good spot right now. I've tweaked him a little bit. He's still using a version of the build that he's been using with some changes. So he's doing Witch Knight's Defiance as a double bar set, Wretched Vitality as a back bar set with a two-hander, Black Rose Prison Bow on the front bar, Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, and One Piece Magma Incarnate. So of course my template is in there like it is on all my builds. But that Black Rose Prison Bow, that's basically the new thing that I've kind of fit into the build, and that was a good move. That's that extra sauce I think this dude was needing, especially in this patch. He was kind of right on the edge of having like a pretty good amount of damage. But now with this real tanky meta that we're in, he needed some extra sauce. And that Black Rose Prison Bow is exactly what the doctor ordered there. And he used to use that back in the proc meta back in the day. But
the proc meta. We don't speak of that.
Oh, that was Bobby's best patch by far. He's never been the same since that meta ended, but he's still really good. So I'm liking that Black Rose Prison Bow. Witch Knight's Defiance 5-piece set. Don't sleep on that set, man. It's a very, very good set.
I think people sleep on that set because they see the 5-piece and think, well, that's not a whole lot of damage. But the 2 through 4 is what makes it go through the roof.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. That 5-piece is decent. It's like 369 weapon and spell damage against targets that have a poison effect on them. And it can be any poison effect. Doesn't even have to come from you. So yeah, that's it's an okay-ish amount of damage. But yeah, the 2 through 4-piece bonus, it's just weapon and spell damage all the way down. Just a giant old stack of weapon and spell damage. So that with the 5-piece bonus all combined together, it's actually a very, very potent set. Really good. And for a bow build, it's hard to have high weapon damage.
Yeah, it's difficult.
But this dude's in the ballpark of 6,000 weapon and spell damage, or actually just 6,000 weapon damage, not spell damage, because of that set. So it's just a good build. If you're, this is the build I like to go to if I'm just wanting to play at range, which generally means I'm kind of not wanting to sweat as hard. I can kind of hang back and do a little something and help my team out. He's got that Resistant Flesh class burst heal with the Wretched Vitality, giving him plenty of magic recovery. So he has very good group support. Kind of all my stamina builds are taking a very similar form, right? They all have Rich Vitality, they all have group support, but they're primarily offensive focused. I'm kind of liking it though. I like the fact that this build, just this type of build, just kind of lets me focus on the class and play the class, and I'm not relying on gimmicks or procs or anything else. It's just what makes this class good. Let's really focus in on that. That's what I like about this kind of standard build template that I keep using.
Yeah.
But anyway, BowCro's in excellent shape. Witch Knight's Defiance, Wretched Vitality, Black Rose Prison Bow, Sithis Helm, One Piece Magma Incarnate. He's fitting in pretty good with this meta.
BowCro's really fun to play, especially if you're rocking 6,000 weapon damage. The blast bones. Blast bones with the BowCro is just great, and so 6,000 weapon damage. I bet that blast bones is hitting pretty darn good.
Yeah. Something about Necromancer, they're just really good as a bow build. It just works really well for them. Fits. Yeah. What's going on with Lord of Nords, man? It's time for the bi-weekly Lord of Nords update.
The weekly Lord of Nords update. Here's the deal. We've probably said this before, but I'll say it again. Lord of Nords is officially my old Betsy. He's just always good. He's always the perfect build setup. He just feels good. Slightly concerned with some of the changes. DK's got slight nerfs, and they were kind of really riding high there for a minute. And so they're not, I don't think DKs are where they were, but he still feels great.
No, they're not. They don't have permanent 100% penetration and are unkillable anymore.
Well,
so not quite where they were.
Yeah, not quite there. But that's the thing is that I never ran that setup with Lord Nord. So that really, when they nerfed that kind of setup, which it needed to be nerfed, that didn't really affect Lord Nords at all. I mean, obviously Oaken Soul nerf hurts, and he's an Oaken Soul build. But he's still great. We did some BGs with Lord Nords. He's still leaping, still Lord of Leaping, no problem. Just a reminder of the build. It's still 5-piece Warrior's Fury, 3-piece Potentates, 2-piece Bloodspawn, 1-piece Trainee, and then 1-piece Oaken Soul. And he's a spin to win build. He's got the spin, and then his spammable is that the Toxic Breath. I always say Flame Breath. It's the stamina. It's the Toxic Breath.
The Poison Breath, yeah.
Yep, the Poison Breath. And then he just leaps. He just leaps, breath, and spins. And the kind of little extra sauce that he's actually gotten with the patch is that I would even argue he's gotten a little bit better. Is that I've thrown on there they made the changes to the whip, where now it gives you the passive. If you cast the flame ability. You build up 3 stacks, and it's a spammable, so I always have those 3 stacks. They extended the length of those 3 stacks, and even when you use the whip, you still get the weapon and spell damage.
Yeah, it stays. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he basically just, I threw that on there, had some space on the bar. He basically just got an extra 300 weapon and spell damage, and it kind of really somewhat, I would say, made up for the Oaken Soul nerf that he got. It kind of made that nerf not as severe. And he feels great. We did a couple BGs. He's still doing good damage, still tanky as ever, and just, he's just leaping all over the place. I love his current setup. It is like the perfect build for the character. He jumps into a fight, and the more you beat on him, the more his damage ramps up. He is like we said, I love me some brawls. You get into a fight, and it's just a dog pile. That's my favorite type of fight. Lord of Nords is my favorite dude to be on when those dog piles happen. Is that he will leap into the middle of them. I want all the people beating on me as he's going through.
He's probably enjoying this patch quite a bit then, because you can really just get in there and it's just like a mosh pit.
It really does work. It just works so well. He's I should have written this down. I'm so bad about remembering ability names. But he uses I remembered it. The coagulating blood.
Oh yeah.
It came back to me. He uses the coagulating blood, and that heal it's the only heal on his bar because it's the 1-bar Oaken Soul. And that heal is so strong right now for him that's the only heal he needs. It works perfectly. I can cast that 2-3 times tops, and he's ramped back up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, about the time that if I'm starting to get concerned again, he's got a leap going. And so I really just alternate between leap and coagulate. And that's pretty much keeps him up for most of the fight. And he can just kind of alternate back between the two. And he's kind of getting resources and sustain from that. And it just has really worked out really well for him to get pretty darn tanky. And, blood spawns proc, and that's adding to the tankiness.
And you're using the leap, the morph that gives you that shield, the huge damage shield.
Yes. We call it the Magicka version, but Ultimate doesn't have Stamina Magicka, but it's the one that makes it do magic-based damage, but it gives that shield, and so when I leap, I get the damage shield, and that lasts me long enough, and about the time that wears out, then I've got the resources back to, do the coagulating blood, so that'll heal me back up, and then just kind of alternate between the two. The 3-piece Potentates is reducing the cost of the leap, and so he was leaping all the time, and blood spawns procking more ultimate. He's already a DK, he's a Nord. And so he just works really well right now. It's a really good setup. I really have him locked in, and I feel really good about him.
Yeah. Oh, and the minor heroism from Oakensoul.
Yep. And Oakensoul's getting the minor heroism. And I really, major heroism that Oakensoul used to give to the patch now, minor heroism.
Too much.
It is a big nerf.
It was too much, though.
It was too much. I mean, with him, like, I really don't notice a whole lot. Before I always had leap. I was more saving it. And now, and he's not really, as silly as it sounds, he's not one to save the leaps. Like, if he has a leap, he should leap. That's the way that build works. Even if it's not an opportune moment, you leap just to keep yourself alive. And don't worry, a leap will be back again when you need it as a finisher.
And that's a big part of your sustain as well. Like, you got to use that ultimate to keep your sustain going.
I don't care if they've got full health or they're in execute. You use the leap when you have the leap. And that's the best way to play that character. Because, it goes back to that Warrior's Fury set, is the more they're beating on you, the more they're ramping up your damage. So that first part of the fight, you're just trying to kind of stay alive and have as many people beat on you as possible. They ramp that Warrior's Fury up, and then once you've got, this crazy weapon and spell damage, then your leaps are going to hit a lot more. Then that breath will start taking chunks of health, and then you just start spinning and leaping, and it's such a fun build. I couldn't be happier with how that thing's working right now.
I wish Zos would commission one of those cinematic trailers, those really nice cinematic trailers, but make it Lord of Nords in a battleground. And really dramatize how he's just like cracking skulls in there. He's just mad and just yelling and just smashing into people.
Part of what makes Lord of that's, I think, secretly, the things that make us love old Betsy so much and Lord of Nords so much is they just have the perfect looks for what the characters are. Lord of Nords, he looks like a freaking lunatic. He just does. He looks like a freaking nutcase. Like,
the madman. He's
the guy that is in the bar 100% of the time. He doesn't just talk. He screams. That dude's never not yelling. He's great. I love his look right now. He looks like a freaking nutcase.
Oh, yeah. You get lots of compliments on that dude, too.
I do.
We'll be talking in Discord, and you're like, hey, someone just complimented Lord of Nords.
Someone just liked the look.
Yeah. Nice, man. Yeah, always a pleasure running around with Lord of Nords, man. If that dude's on your team, like, you got a solid foundation to that team already, right there. Absolutely. You have a guy that's going to go take the brunt of everyone else's damage and just kind of handle it, and you can do your thing.
That's kind of been our exciting combo lately, is you've been rocking your StamBlade.
Yes, I love it.
You've been rocking the StamBlade with old Lord of Nords, and you're like, oh man, this is great. They're just nice. All beating on you, and you're just kind of sitting in the back, just picking your targets.
Yes, it's honestly, we talked about that on the last episode, but that's my favorite duo right now, is you on Lord of Nords, me on my StamBlade. They're an unlikely pair, but man, it works, because you're just like causing a ruckus, all eyes are on you, and that just frees me up to do my little strike from the shadows thing. It's great. Speaking of which, man, we just kind of naturally made some nice transitions here.
We're just the ebb and flow.
We are in the zone. Catface Johnson, my Stamina Nightblade, still the character that I'm always thinking about. I've spent most of this patch so far playing with my StamPlar because I've just been trying to get her whipped into shape. But almost without fail, before I log off, it's like, let's just get one match in with Catface real quick. Let me just log in with the Nightblade. I can't go to bed before I log in with the Nightblade and have a little bit of fun. This guy's by far my best character at the moment. He's just consistently, match after match after match in BGs, getting the best kill counts, getting the best damage, just contributing the most to the overall team effort. And kind of like what we were saying earlier in the episode, I mean, this is maybe the first time we've been able to say that about StamBlade specifically.
Yeah, they're in a great place right now.
That they're fitting in so well. And, you know, I do nothing but play BGs. I'm a Templar main, you know, and I play all these different characters. And to be able to say that a StamBlade is my best character in Battlegrounds right now is, I don't know, I feel like that's quite a statement. But
it's just such beautiful poetry that it's Catface Johnson.
Yeah.
I've been rooting for this guy for so long. I know we've said that in past episodes, but it's just, I can't help but be excited. Been rooting for this guy for a long time.
I'm
talking years and years and years ago. Back before, this is back even before the cast. We would chat. You know, we used to work together. We'd chat over lunch break, and we just, you know, the early days, original version of Scrollin was just lunch break talks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, hey, you know, how's old Catface? And you're like, nah, he's not. He's on the bench right now. He's not doing nothing. So,
yeah.
To see him now, you saying the words, he's your best performance character right now. It's pure poetry.
It is kind of funny. We've talked about it a few times, how he's been neglected for literal years, and now he's just like in just the best shape ever. But
looking good too, might I add.
He has a real sharp look. I've really zeroed in on his look. But that's what I was saying earlier. Like, Wardens have kind of taken over, but I think really Wardens are just really good at being survivable. But I think Nightblades are actually better at getting kills. And I think as this patch goes on, as the meta continues to kind of evolve and stuff, I think a lot more people are going to start settling on Nightblades. I can't imagine they're not going to, because it's so much fun and they're just in such a good spot, so very effective right now. It's just, how can you not?
Yeah.
His setup right now pretty much the same as last time I talked about him. I made a couple of small tweaks, but it's still Wretched Vitality on the body, Griffin's Ferocity on the front bar with dual maces, Master Bow on the back bar, Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, and One Piece Magma Incarnate. I'm thinking about maybe trying Stygian. That stuff's really expensive right now, so that's what's holding me back. But I might try replacing Griffins with Stygian. Stygian is a set that it's an overland set, and when you come out of stealth, it gives you 369 weapon and spell damage, I think for 10 seconds or so, something like that. It's another one of those where the 2 through 4 piece bonuses really make it. Also, it's like, I think it's like weapon and spell damage, and penetration, something like that.
Yeah, that's a good 2 through 4.
Really, really good Nightblade set. Because Concealed Weapon, my spammable, it now gives me Minor Expedition while slotted, and Griffin's Ferocity gives me Minor Expedition, so that redundancy is kind of bothering me. So I'm thinking about maybe trying Stygian to see if I like that better. I may end up going back to Griffin's, because that Minor Force is nice, and that Minor Expedition would carry to my back bar as well, so there is that advantage. So there's a very good chance I'll just stick with what I have, but I do want to try that Stygian at least.
Go test it out.
Yeah, just test it out. It'll only cost like 500,000 gold, so no big deal.
No big deal. You got that. Don't worry about that. You got that.
I guarantee you, for a lot of people listening, that's just like nothing at all change. You know, it's just like they find that in their couch cushion.
For those people listening, I am on the opposite spectrum of the finance tree.
Yeah, me too. 500,000 gold is a lot for me.
Ooh, that's a whole bunch.
One small change I've made to the build, not to the gear, but the Leeching Strikes ability, that's the stamina sustain tool that StamBlades use. I've swapped it to the other morph, Siphoning Attacks, so it's a Magicka sustain tool now. It does the exact same thing, it's just Magicka. That was a really good choice. It's kind of like what you were saying with Bearclaw, Davius. I'm relying on so many Magicka abilities, and actually most of the abilities that I'm relying on the most are Magicka abilities.
Yep.
And I've got to a point where I was noticing, like, my stamina bar is always 100% full, and I'm always struggling for Magicka. So that solved that, basically. I switched to Siphoning Attacks. My stamina sustain is actually it's not better, obviously, but it's it's better in that I'm actually using the stamina that I have, you know what I mean? It's not just, your stamina bar shouldn't just be full all the time. That means you're over-invested in that case, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's actually a good amount of stamina sustain now. So that was a perfect move. And then I was doing 4 medium, 2 light. I've gone back to using 5 medium, 1 light. Now that I'm using siphoning attacks, I find that 5 medium is a little more necessary just to get that stamina sustain right back in that sweet spot. And I think that's perfect. I think this is a great example of what is so great about this hybrid meta and how like the armor passives and everything have been adjusted over time, where you can dial things in. If I wanted to, if 4 light, 2 medium is what felt the most comfortable, no reason I couldn't do that, right? All those damage passives are still totally relevant and everything. Like anybody listening who wants to try to run a similar kind of build, totally free to just experiment with the armor weights. Whatever you come up with is going to work out just fine. It's really just a matter of finding that balance of sustain that feels right for you.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool. I'm getting better at figuring out how to do that medium attack weave stun that we talked about on the last episode. So when you hit someone with concealed weapon from a flank, it no longer stuns them, but it does set them off balance. And so the way you stun them is you hit them with a heavy attack or a medium attack and weave that into your next attack. And that medium attack will be the thing that stuns them. It is kind of hard to pull off. I mean, I'll admit it takes some finesse, but I've been practicing. I'm getting better at it. And absolutely, man, if you set them off balance, charge up a medium attack, and then weave that into your Merciless Resolve, they eat it, man, every single time. There's no dodging that. So it's very rewarding, and I like the fact that it's challenging because it's that much more rewarding when you do pull it off. I've also found that like not having a reliable stun on this build has not been a big deal. I think it's just the fact that I can turn invisible, so defensively I'm kind of doing fine.
Yeah.
But I really haven't missed it all that much as I thought I was going to.
That's very rare. Like, was that your only build that doesn't have a stun?
I think so. That's kind of one of the things I consider to be mandatory in a build. You have to have a hard CC, which I technically do. It's just hard to do it. But yeah, it's been fine. I've gained so much respect for Nightblades after having played a Nightblade for so long. Who would have thought, you know, walk a mile in a man's shoes.
This is...
It's not as easy as it looks. You know, I think if you're on the receiving end of ganks all the time and you've never played a Nightblade, you might kind of get it in your head that all you have to do is turn invisible and then hit someone and they die. It is not that easy at all. Especially against like experienced players that know how to deal with Nightblades. They're not going to die easily and they know how to deal with you. They know how to counter stealth. And it's a challenge. It is a challenge to actually get kills consistently, especially in Battlegrounds where, you know, your MMR goes up. You're guaranteed to be going up against players of a certain experience level. You know, you're not just picking on noobs in Cyrodiil or whatever. So I've just gained a lot of respect for Nightblades. I also feel like the devs have done a pretty good job at giving everyone the tools they need to deal with Nightblades. You know, invisibility is very strong. But we have a lot of tools to deal with it, and the way they kind of change the interaction between anti-stealth tools versus stealth, I think they've done a pretty good job with that stuff. Invisibility is a really tough thing in any game that has it. You know, it's a really tough thing to balance, and I think this is about as close as I've seen it to being in a pretty decent spot. But yeah, that's kind of my takeaway. Nightblade, not as easy as it looks. Last build I want to mention, just real quick, I'm not going to spend a long time on this, but Aunt Lola, my Magic Award and healer, she's my one Oakensoul build.
Nice.
Her setup that I've ended up with for now is 5 pieces Rallying Cry, 5 pieces Hedes Hearth, Oakensoul, and 1 piece Magma Incarnate. So I think I've ended up settling with Hedes Hearth instead of Gossamer. Gossamer gives you major evasion, gives you and your teammates major evasion when you heal them. And that's a great set, but I've found that this patch survivability is so easy that I can do without that major evasion. I don't feel like I really need it that much. And I'm getting minor evasion from my flappy wings, so I already kind of have that. And so, yeah, since survivability seems pretty easy, I think I'd rather use Heaty's Hearth just to kind of have more healing power. I'm reducing the stamina cost of all those core combat abilities, roll dodging, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep, that's nice.
It's also like a nice. This character is all about having a bunch of magic circles, right? So it has that big bright orange magic circle.
It's a great visual set.
Love it. Love the visual. Rallying Cry makes a big magic circle as well. I have 2 ground AoE hots. And my ultimate, the trees. I have like 5 circles that I'm like stacking on top of each other. So it looks cool. It kind of goes with the theme, and I actually don't feel like I need Gossamer. A lot of the time, your teammates already have major evasion, so it's kind of a waste on them anyway. So Heaty's Hearth just kind of wins out there. But I've played a few matches with her. We've gotten into some sweaty pre-mades, and she's hanging in there. She's a legit healer. That Oakensoul nerf, quote-unquote, was actually a buff for her this patch, just because it just happens to work out that way with the buff coverage that she has and stuff. I'm having a lot of fun with this character. I really like the fact, and you figured this out a long time ago, Davius, that like a pure healer that just does not have any offensive capability, there's something fun about that. I don't know, I can't quite put my finger on exactly why that is, but I enjoy it.
It's a much different dynamic, and like all of your priorities are shifted. Like,
yeah,
you just have a singular focus, and your goal is just to do that focus really well.
I have my Resto Staff heavy attack, and sometimes if my team is focusing someone down, I'm like, I'm heavy attacking real hard, guys. I'm helping.
I'm helping.
But yeah, I like that. And yeah, basically, if someone catches me off by myself, all I can do is just play defensively and hope that they leave me alone. And
are you gonna throw the Arctic? Is it Arctic Blast, Arctic Wind? I can't remember the name of
Arctic Blast. Probably not.
You can throw it on this?
No, I don't think I can.
The only reason I say that is because Arctic Blast to me is, we actually experienced this in a BG recently.
That's brutal.
It's a fantastic heal, but the best part of it is that it's an insane CC.
The CC is nuts.
Nightmare.
Don't forget that one of the big buffs that it got is it has a 15% chance to apply the chilled status effect, which for an AoE ability, that's a huge chance. If the Warden is using the charged trait on their staff, that's a 30% chance in that case. And if they're holding a frost staff, then you're getting immobilized every time that happens. Plus the ability is a stun as well. When they cast it, it stuns you.
Yeah. And so I was just curious if you were going to throw it on Lola just for the CC that it causes.
That'd be nice, but it's an Oakensoul build. I just don't think I have the room for it. It's a purely selfish heal, and so as a healer,
it is tough because it is a selfish heal.
Yeah. If I go back to a double bar setup with her, I probably will fit it on the bar. But I think for this, I don't think I can. And I kind of like that would kind of make her too aggressive now. Like for my idea for like the role play aspect of the character,
she stays back. Yeah, she's not.
If she's like CCing people and stuff, like she's being mean. She wouldn't. I don't think she would feel good about that. She would be like apologetic. She just wants to help keep her friends alive, and that's all. That's all she wants to do. So we'll check in more with Lola later on. Any other builds or theorycraft or anything else you've been up to in ESO lately?
No, just trying to, now that I'm getting through all this, stuff in the way, just getting into BGs. I'm excited. Like we said, we've mentioned a lot of times that it's really tanky right now, but overall, the BGs do feel really good right now.
Yeah, that's what I said about it's a tanky meta, and I generally don't particularly like tanky metas, but I'm able to actually kind of enjoy this one because I'm tanky too, and I don't have to make a tanky build to be tanky. Like I can just kind of enjoy it with whatever build I have, and it won't. There'll come a time where it's more of a high damage meta. I know that time will come. So for now, I can just kind of enjoy this for what it is.
Well, and I think once they nerf the Mara's Balm set, I think that's going to do wonders for the current meta.
That will help a lot. It's not going to fix everything, but they also said, like, before this patch ever dropped, I think it was like in a live stream or something like that, they did say that they have a lot more changes than this planned, and a lot of those are going to come in Q4. So this is kind of an incomplete sort of situation that we're in. I did do The Vatishran Arena, finally, 7 times. It took me 7 runs to get the weapon that I wanted. What's up, Dr. P? A little late.
Dr. P coming in.
Hey, just in time, though.
So, I am happy for you on your 7 runs, but I'm also furious to my core that you only did an arena 7 runs and got what you needed.
Yeah.
It is such a... I'm on both, that's a double-edged sword for me. I will be happy for you, but you don't know the pain. But I am excited that you did Vatishran. I honestly can say that's my favorite arena. Of all the arenas, that's my favorite one because of all the ones, and it's the newest one, right?
I believe so, yep.
Yeah. Of all of the arenas out there, it's the only one, in my opinion, that you actually, really have to focus on the mechanics. You can't, there's ways to skip through and do that, but, every fight has, legit mechanics. There's not a whole lot of, mobs that you have to deal with. You mainly are kind of getting to bosses really quick, and then they're, very unique mechanics for the boss that you kind of have to learn, and once you learn them, it goes pretty well, but I really enjoyed that part of the arena rather than just wave after wave after wave after wave.
Yeah.
I like that it's actual mechanics and you're actually kind of having to strategically fight.
Yeah, I like how it's set up. It's like a solo dungeon more than an arena. And yeah, after 3 runs, I could just blast through that thing. I just kind of knew what to do and I could just do it. It wasn't. That's what's frustrating about Maelstrom Arena, right? Is you get really good at it and now you're just in farm mode. But you can't do it any faster because you're just waiting on waves, So this one, the better you get, the faster you can do it.
Yep.
That final boss is really cool too. Trippy, weird and cool. But I liked it a lot.
Yep, very good.
I'm gonna have to tackle it on Veteran at some point. I just did it on normal just because I wanted to hurry up and get this weapon for Betsy. I'll have to try it on Veteran. I hear Veteran really isn't too bad. So I might give it a try at some point. In other news, I picked up the decon assistant, Gilladil, the rag picker.
How dare you say that?
I'm going to have to bleep that out.
You're going to have to bleep that out.
Funny title aside, that decon assistant is nice.
Fantastic.
It is so nice.
Take the name out of there. It is a game changer.
Man, I did not realize. I remember when they announced the decon assistant, I was thinking I could see how that could be convenient. I don't need it. I don't need that at all. But then you got it, Davius. And I went to your house and you're like, hey, check out this thing. And I got in there. I just happened to have a bunch of just trash gear in my inventory and I deconned it all. And it just became so clear all of a sudden, I can just do it all right here on one screen. It's so quick and easy.
Speaking of Dr. Professor, as he comes in, I got to give him all the credit. We were doing a dungeon run. And he pulled the rag picker out. Pardon my French.
All right, hold on. GrizzlyCon, here with the information. Rag picker is a historical term, guys. It's from Wikipedia. A rag picker or chiffonier is someone who makes a living by rummaging through refuse in the streets to collect material for salvage. All right, my bad. There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Rag picker, right. Excellent name for the decon assistant. Sorry to interrupt.
But I got to give Dr. Professor a huge shout out. He pulled that out when we were doing a dungeon, and just like you said, it was just the parts clouded, the sunlight came down, and it was oh my gosh, this thing is amazing.
You don't realize how nice it is until you do it. You're wow.
Until you use it, and you just clear out your inventory, and you get all the mats that you're usually too lazy to get.
Yeah, you don't have to go to town. Even if you're already in town, you got to go to each individual station and all that stuff. Man, you can just knock it out in a second. Got to get that decon assistant. I paid real cash money for it. I used the assistant at Davius's house, and I'm all right, where's my wallet?
I need this.
Yeah, got to get it. All right. Well, that's kind of all we've been up to. As far as the Lost Depths DLC, I have yet to really experience the content, the dungeons themselves. I've not done them. I'm assuming you have not either, Davius.
I have not.
Anybody in the chat done either of the new dungeons? Are they cool?
Do you know where they're located?
I think they are in High Isle. I remember reading that they're both both in High Isle. So
both of them are in High Isle. They're on one of the islands. Yeah. That's what you're saying.
One of them is on
one of each island.
One of them is on High Isle proper, and one of them is on the prison island. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, I'm impressed you knew that. There you go.
I just remember reading that, but yeah, I haven't done the dungeons yet. I'm not really wanting any of the gear, and I just don't really care about dungeons, you know. So,
unless it has like a set that we're really going for. When you're PvP focused, it's hard to go run. You know, we'll do a dungeon run every now and then, but if there's not a set we're looking for, it's, you know, we usually don't do it.
But yeah, no real surprises in the actual live patch. We were thinking there might be a surprise or two, but nothing really. The quick recap for the patch: Nightblade's Warden's buffed, everyone else nerfed. Also, a ton of Tales of Tribute adjustments. I didn't actually read them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't actually read the changes because I don't want to give the card game my attention, but
I actually haven't been in a Tales and Tribute game I've been in a game for a while. It's faded a little bit for me.
If anyone listening, if you're really into the card game, you might want to read over those patch notes because it was a pretty lengthy list of stuff.
I imagine they just had to do some initial like balance changes to the game.
Yeah.
People probably found loopholes. You know, it was the first edition, so I'm sure they made just a whole bunch of balance changes.
Emails and shout-outs. We did get an email this week. Special week. We got an email from Dr. Professor. He says, shout out to Grizzly Con. Woo.
Ooh, that's a classy email right there. That's classy.
So there you go. Grizzly Con, shout out by request from Dr. Professor.
Shout out Grizzly Con. Dr. P will send you your shout out GrizzlyCon t-shirt. It's in the mail.
Shout out to Dr. Professor for sending us an email. Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Dr. Professor says, shout out you guys.
Oh, man.
I think he's talking to us.
I think he means us. Well, maybe he could be meaning just the rest of the chat.
Well, that's a good point. Shout out to the chat. Who we got? Mr. Moon, Grizzly Con, Dr. Professor, Crimson Knight. Sam was in here for like 10 seconds until he realized that we were recording a podcast that he bounced.
Does Q-pops for his BG.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a good time. We have a guild. It is called Stoons Goons. It is the best named guild on the PCNA server. It is also the official guild of the Scrollin podcast.
I've told you, my only request for a bleep is you just bleep out named.
But it is the best names guild.
I know, but it's just going to be you saying Stoons Goons, best bleep guild on the server.
Then people say the best, they'll think I'm saying best damn guild on the server.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. That's go Stoons.
If you'd like to be a member of Stoons Goons, send us an email at scrollinpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll get you in there. Or if your guild roster is full, that's okay. We'll invite you to the Discord. That's really the home of the guild anyway. And anyone who's in the Discord is a fully fledged goon as far as I'm concerned. So scrollinpodcast@gmail.com if you want to join up with our little community here. Also, scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. Send us an email if you just want to send us an email about anything. Suggestions about the show, questions, stuff you'd like to hear us talk about, build ideas, tell us a joke, say hello, anything you want. Scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. What else we got, Davius?
I think that's it. See you in the BGs.
See ya in the BGs. comes the snap. 3, 2, 1.
Boom.
Yes. I think we got that down pat at this point.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much
4 episodes in.
I mean, I think it's so good at this point. We could just do that as an episode. We need to sneak an episode in. It's just a snap boom.
That'd be cool. Play the opening music, snap boom, closing music.
They'll get it. They'll get it.
That's the one that's going to generate all the emails, and everyone's going to send us over the top. You ever seen that movie, Sylvester Stallone?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely
about
seen over
arm wrestling.
No, I was telling you about the old sunsets.
Mm-hmm.
Got another one to send you here.
Oh boy!
People are probably getting tired of.
Special treat for the Scrollin podcast
There you go.
chat crew in Oklahoma sunset.
This is the one.
I really pity everyone who lives their entire lives never getting to see a beautiful Oklahoma sunset.
This is the one that I'm literally looking out outside my windows right.
Look at that, guys! Look what you're missing out on. Beautiful state of Oklahoma. That is pretty.
Take that, Sam.
Yeah. Florida.
Where's he at?
Take that, Florida. Beautiful air pollution. Grizzly, always naysaying.
Darn it, Grizz.
Oklahoma's pretty... I think we have pretty clean air here, really.
I think so. I have no idea.
Compared to Texas, absolutely. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Your air pollution. No, I bet where you're at, there's really probably not much air pollution at all, I wouldn't think.
Nope. Well, same thing for you, I would think. There's not that many people where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of live further away from the larger cities. Now we do.
Yeah, now. Once upon a time, that was not the case.
Not always the case. Me and Davies were city
change.
boys once upon a time. City slickers, but we wear 10-gallon cowboy hats now every day.
Mm-hmm.
Tightest jeans we can find.
Oh, yeah. Biggest belt buckles around.
Oh, yeah. I can't sit down with it, actually. It hurts. But it's worth it.
It's worth it. It's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Just kidding. That's not how I dress. I dress strictly for comfort. No other consideration.
Me too. Totally me too.
That is not true for you. Have you told people about your dressing habits in real life?
I don't think
Davis has two outfits. Mm-hmm. It's either full shirt and like suit and tie.
Yep.
Every day of his life, or if he's not in that, he's in like OSU pajamas.
Yep. OSU sweatpants
basically.
and t-shirt.
Yeah, those are the only clothes he owns.
That's not even exaggerating. That really is the only clothes I own.
This guy, his first day at his new job happened to be a casual Friday.
Yeah.
And he's like, sorry, boss, I'm not going to be able to participate in casual Friday. I'm going to have to wear the tie. It's just, got to do it.
The overall head boss, the main dude, came and threatened to cut my tie with a pair of scissors.
Oh, no. So will you ever participate in a casual Friday? You think?
Well, I mean, what's your terms of participate?
Jeans and t-shirt, tennis shoes.
So I wore my regular getup, but I put on tennis shoes with it because we did Orange Friday.
Okay.
And I have tennis shoes that light up orange.
Okay. That doesn't count, but I like it. You're trying. Baby steps. Starts with the shoes.
It's pretty casual,
Hey, next time, here's what you do next time. Here's the next baby step. All right? You the full suit and tie and everything with the shoes, the tennis shoes, and basketball shorts.
Whoa.
From the waist up. Waist up's the same. Waist up is still a suit and tie.
Just show up and see if anybody notices.
That'd be so
Everybody just
funny.
looks away. He's making changes, all right? Just let him be.
Petty loafers and a sports coat and pleated jeans. Could you believe it? The scandal.
The scandal.
Pleated jeans are coming back. It's wishful thinking. I had a pair of Levi's silver tab pleated jeans back when pleated jeans were cool.
How about the stonewashed? Huh? Get you some stonewashed? Those back in style?
Those got to be back, right? Surely.
Mm-hmm.
You see these kids, the way they dress.
It's been enough time.
Dude, I can't. I feel like my parents, but I'm seeing the fashion from when I was in high school coming back with like the big K-Swiss white shoes and all that stuff. Like,
I'll tell you what.
It's all come full circle.
You know, they always say style repeats itself. You know, always comes back around. But I will tell you, I'm pretty confident of a style that was from our day and age that will never come back. And when
Jinkos.
Yes, you do it right off the bat. You see the pictures and you're like, what were we thinking? What was going on?
Grizzly says people are saying Jinkos are coming back.
No way.
Welcome to Scrollin Podcast, by the way. This is all going in the show. Friggin' Jinkos. I got a pair early on before they got like way out of control. They were just like a little bit wacky, you know, like, well, those are kind of some baggy pants right there. But it wasn't like to the point where the pockets were like on the ground and crap like that. I wasn't quite to that point.
My parents refused to ever buy me a pair. Never owned a pair. They refused.
A friend of mine gave me a pair that were too small for him, actually. That's how I got mine.
There you go.
And I didn't dare wear them if my dad was around.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. That's really what Jinkos were. It's just the ultimate rebellion of our generation.
Oh, yeah. Jinkos, wallet chain.
Mm-hmm.
I wore Airwalk shoes.
Duct tape wallet. Don't forget that. That was important.
I had like a rawhide leather wallet.
Okay.
And I used to dye my hair really bright, crazy colors.
Nice.
My dad hated it, which is why I like doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I was it wasn't actually rebellious though. Like I did not go to parties. I refused to ever drink or do any actual bad kid stuff. My rebellion was like, I'm going to dress funky. I'm going to be like a weirdo.
and I'll show you.
Yeah. Because I like grew up in a rural area. Everyone's all countrified and stuff. It was like, I'm going to be a weirdo. Anyway, you want to do a podcast?
Let's cast.
Okay.